everybody silence their phones if they haven't done so already. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge, followed by a prayer by pastor. So good for that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us all take a moment and bow our heads in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for bringing us together as neighbors and friends entrusted with the care of our village. Pour out your Holy Spirit on those gathered here. Grant them wisdom as they speak, patience as they listen, and unity as they make decisions for the good of all in our community. Bless this council with clarity of mind and strength of heart, that their work may bring peace, fairness, and hope to every household. May all that they do honor you and serve our community in love. In the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, we give praise and thanks. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, start with roll call, Lisa.
Mike Gunner,
Present.
Gwen Dusa,
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker, Sherry Luce,
Here.
Ken Nichols,
Here.
Eric Rogers,
Here.
Timothy Waters.
First up is to approve minutes from previous meeting. August 11th. Any changes? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes from August 11, 2025 as presented. Full support.
Motion Bill second Ken to approve the minutes of August 11th, 2025 as presented. Any discussion? Now Lisa, call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. Up next, our presentations and communications. We do have two public hearings. They are kind of different, so I think we might as well just do each in their own. I guess we're okay with that. The first one would be to open up the public hearing for the ordinance amending buildings and building regulations and repeals, cleaning up our building code. So we'll need a motion to open that public hearing.
I move that we open the public hearing for the council's legal notice amending, repealing building chapters August 25th, 2025.
Support. Motion Gwen, second Bill. To open a public hearing regarding the many buildings and building regulations and repeals. Is there anyone from the public?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ken,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yeah.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Now we'll allow public to address council regarding the building regulations repeals. Oh. If nobody wishes to speak, I'll entertain a motion to close that public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing regarding the council legal notice amending, and repealing the building chapters.
Support.
And a motion, Gwen, and second Bill, to close public hearing regarding the ordinance changes amending buildings and building regulations and repeals. Please call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, carries. Second public hearing would be for the ordinance amending chapter 5 compensation for village officials.
I would make a motion to have a public hearing regarding the ordinance amending chapter 5 compensation of village officials.
I'll support it.
Motion Gwen, second Garrett, to open the public hearings regarding the amendment to chapter 5 compensation for village officials. Please call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill, Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Anybody who would wish to address council regarding that? Not tell entertain motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing regarding ordinance amending chapter 5 compensation for village officials. I'll support.
Motion Glenn, second Sherry, to close public hearing regarding the ordinance amendment. Change for chapter 5 compensation for village officials. Lisa call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Moving on, move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. As presented or changes to the request.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. I'll support.
I have a motion Glenn, second Sherry, to approve the agenda of August 25th, 2025 as presented. Any discussion? Not Lisa call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. We're gonna do public comment. Allow time for anyone who address or wish to address the council regarding any sort of subject. Ray, I apologize, I didn't get you on the agenda, but I know you have presentation regarding some pickleball.
If anybody else, they go first, if anybody else, do not, I will. Okay,
All right, sir.
go ahead. I'm here to talk about my current favorite project, pickleball. And I hope you guys are getting sick of hearing about it from people other than just me. I've had the opportunity because of my job somewhere. In the last couple of weeks, I've been in contact with Bedford Township, Whiteford Township, and in the city of Avon. And all the stuff I have here is going to be given to Mike, so he can make copies to whomever.
Give it to Danielle.
Or Danielle, that's right. In each case, Bedford Township is in the process of building 8 pickleball courts. Now, they're building it where they currently have tennis courts and repairing the tennis courts out and building these 8 pickleball courts. And some of the information I got from them, other than an approximate cost per court, because one of the items I'm going to give you is a list of all the people that bid on that project for Bedford Township. And one of those bidders is the local contractor down by Knapp's, Sealer. So this is the list of, I think there's 10. And the prices for the 8 courts plus the demolition is quite varied. But when I talked to the gentleman down at the contractor here in town that bid on it, wasn't successful. He's the one that gave me this drawing, which is basically the drawing that's necessary to build it. It shows dimensions, it shows the thickness of the road, all that pavement, all that stuff. And he also told me at the end of our conversation, that it was his guesstimate that just build a pickleball court was in the vicinity of $230,000, which is, if you divide by 8, is in the vicinity of $28,000 to $30,000 per court. Some of the other numbers I'm going to give you are about the same prices, around $30,000, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But again, it was just taking the number of courts a particular place was building and dividing by that number. The second place I went to is Whiteford Township, and I'm sure most of you, if you've had occasions to drive down Stearns, thank you. You know where the 2 courts are that they built. And the gentleman there, the township supervisor, Jeff Thomas, was real helpful. He took some time, and I got back to him another day, and he got me the cost of fence and the concrete. And that totaled, between those two, $57,000, which divided by 2 comes out to, again, $30,000 plus or minus to build a court. And then I decided, because I'm up in Adrian quite a bit, I went and stopped at the city of Adrian and I talked to a Cindy Schumacher, who I've given her card here. She would be assistant parks and recreation person. And she gave me a price, and this is of course for the 6 that they already have at Heritage Park, which is really nice. She gave the cost of $182,000 plus or minus, divide it by 6, it comes out to $30,375. My point being, in each of these cases, when you deal with just the pickleball court itself and some fencing and so forth, it's in the $30,000 to $35,000 per court. Yeah. And I'm gonna give that to all of you to look at. Again, this is the bids that Bedford Township had from 10 different contractors. And again, this is a valuable document because again, he gave me, this is the document that those contractors had to look at to bid at least the construction of the courts. I might have a little bit on there about the demo, but that's not an issue. Until we decide to tear up part of the tennis courts at the school, then it's enough to add it for the whole thing. So again, like I said at the beginning, I hope you got sick of hearing about this from other people other than just me. Because there's a large contingent of people in the village that play pickleball. And the 2 courts that are over at the school leave a lot to be desired. Both ranging from all the striping is confusing. The concrete is, as you all know, is in bad need of repair. And having pickleball courts end for end as opposed to side for side is a pain in the ass. Anyways, and that leads me to a question I have. I know I keep hearing, maybe you can't answer that, but that there's an ongoing conversation with the school about what's gonna happen over there.
That's very true.
Is there any movement towards some kind of
No,
decision?
there's not. And there was a lease that was created when you were part of.
There's a what?
There's a lease that is created between the village and the school. And that lease has to be worked through. That was a lease that is not working in our favor at a particular point, at a particular moment. And you were on the board when that lease was created.
Oh, God.
And we are trying to work through that lease.
Have to
It is a
remember.
lengthy, well, it's a lengthy lease and it is a thorn in our side and we're trying to work through it this
Well,
time.
and it deals with the waters primarily, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So, you know, who knows how that's gonna shake out?
Until that shakes out, there's not a whole lot we can do.
There.
Pickleball,
There,
no.
but
we
there's
can't
other
build
places
a
we could
pickleball
build
court in one
pickleball.
place and then having to take care of these tennis courts where we have a commitment for hundreds of thousands of dollars either, right?
I understand that, Gwen, but if you built pickleball courts somewhere else, then the tennis courts would be what's at the school.
And we're responsible for the tennis courts at this time.
Sure.
So
That's
we're
not-
responsible for both. We
I-
can't do both.
I understand it. But you say both, that's a tennis court complex. That's, you decided to strike one of the tennis courts into pickleball, and like I say, it leaves a lot to be desired. It serves a purpose current, but it leaves a lot. And there are other sites in the village that the village has somewhat control over where pickleball courts could be built. And I guess all I'm asking is that whole issue, be it the combination of what can be done at the school and or somewhere else, generally over in the pool area, be reviewed and taken into account. That's all I'm saying. I don't know how many of you get this is the Tecumseh something or other. Anybody seen this? Because they have an issue in here. About where the Tecumseh Council turned down $100,000 grant that was gotten from the Lenawee Community Foundation. You probably know about that, I would assume. Anyways, and I'm gonna give this to you. Talks about they had received $100,000 grant from the Lenawee Community Foundation, and for reasons that aren't explained in the paper, they turned it down.
For pickleball.
Yeah, it was $100,000 for pickleball. I don't know if it says the number, that's. but the cost was, about 218,000 for 6. Divide that, it's 36,000. So, you know, that's the number to think about when and if any number of courts can be built.
We're also having a meeting, Greg, I don't know, maybe you're not aware of this, we're having a meeting, regarding the whole pickleball issue and thoughts, concerns, and exactly what you just brought to the council today, at the September Parks and Rec meeting. Were you aware of that?
I know they exist, that the date,
Well, that has been, Danielle, that's been out there, that invitation's been out there for pickleball folks, to attend that Parks and Rec meeting in
When is-
September.
when is the meeting?
It's October 20.
October, is that October?
Yes,
That was around my house.
October 23rd
yes, at 7 PM here.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So that would be
That's
a
something.
good place to come with that, and maybe by then we'll have some knowledge about school.
Well, again, I'm gonna give this all to you guys and distribute it, as you see there. I don't care. That's pretty much it. I would say that if we get to the point, this is just a recommendation, if we get to the point where you can build something, you don't build in stupid. Because I'm telling you, if you build two, you're gonna have people, and this was the case in Whiteford. Whiteford, the money they got, to build the court, those 2 courts that are on Stearns Road, was all donated. So it didn't really cost the township too much because they would donate money to do it. But he told me, the supervisor, that they got the 2 built, and no sooner as they get the 2 built, they were being pounded by 1 year bill more. 2 is not adequate for the number of people that play pickleball. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's extremely, as I know you probably either know personally or you've heard, extremely popular. And
It's also what we can afford though too, so.
Oh,
You
there's no
totally
question about that.
understand but-
there's no question about it, but the point of interest is this Runaway Community Foundation that was going to give the company $100,000, which they had to put some money in their rec program or whatever it is. They had, I don't think they had to match the 100,000, but they had so much, it says in detail in this article. But I would assume, and this is an assumption on my part, that when they applied for this grant, Runaway Community Foundation, that their city manager, I'm assuming, was given direction by the council to apply for that grant.
I can give you a little bit more information. The Blissfield would not qualify for that funding from the Lenawee Community Foundation. The city of Tecumseh received an endowment that was given to Lenawee Community Foundation, who acts as their yes, thank you. So they invest as an executor, so they manage that endowment for them and invest it in order to get higher interest returns on it, but it can only be spent in the city of Tecumseh, so it's dedicated to them. I don't know all of the stipulations, if there are requirements of, if it has to be recreation, things like that.
Sure.
Because we don't qualify it, but it is specific to Tecumseh, so because they turned it down, it doesn't mean that we would qualify to get that
I mean,
funding.
it says Lenawee Community Foundation, Lenawee Community kind of sounds like it includes us, but you're saying it does.
Lenawee Community Foundation does have several programs, and it is all of the county, but they manage endowment funds for multiple organizations. Unfortunately, Blissfield is not currently one of them, but we have benefited from some of their services, like they have a Lenawee Cares program that has given us small scholarships or donations to help with some of our nonprofit organizations, but not specifically with the village at this time.
Okay, well, I didn't know
And
that.
we do maintain communication with them and work with them in case or if ever something did become available.
Okay, that's good to know. That's too bad.
Yes.
Regardless, Ray, appreciate your time. Get that to Danielle if you would.
I will.
And again, thank you for taking the initiative going. and
Oh, well,
getting prices, things like
yeah,
that, because
because
that helps us out. We got a lot
I'm
of people that
interested
just
in
come
seeing
up
it
and want
done,
whatever.
and it was convenient for me to do.
Yeah, again, it's nice to have some numbers, at least it gets started, so,
And they're all in the same ballpark.
yes. And much like Gwen alluded to, we're continuing the dialogue with the school, what we need to do with it.
I'm sorry?
We're continuing the dialogue with the school.
I know.
Like said on that too, so.
I know.
But again, thank you for the homework and that
Thank you.
gives us good information.
We have to get, from our discussion at Parks and Rec.
We'll get you that date.
Yeah, I'll share that.
Yeah, it is October 21st.
October
2nd.
24th.
I think it's September.
Anybody else who cares to address council from the public? All right, then we'll move on to unfinished business. Anybody have anything? No. Mayor? No, chair? No. All right, we'll move on to new business. First, it's gonna be the ordinance committee chapter 172, buildings and building regulations. Danielle, they want, I'll turn it over to you, start discussing them.
Thank you. So I had sent this to you guys, we've been working on ordinances overall for a bit now. This one did jump my priority list because the state of Michigan in April and May adopted revised building code, and under our charter, we are allowed to perform, issue building permits and perform inspections, but we do have to comply with some regulations, and one of those is that we adopted the state building codes as they come in. So that's where a big portion of this amendment came from initially. That being said, I also, when I started to amend it, realized that there were a lot of chapters that designated to buildings and building regulations, so I'm proposing to combine it into one chapter to hopefully make it easier for people to go to that one chapter and then find what they need from there. So in this chapter, you'll see where a lot of everything is highlighted yellow, and I'm just gonna kind of go through this, but if you guys have questions, stop me. But a lot of this is similar to what we have now, just maybe a little bit more clarified. So we currently have our building inspection fees that are set when we do our fee schedule, and or by the state of Michigan, we follow them for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, which is identified in that fee schedule. So we've just referenced that so that if from time to time we need to amend those, or the state updates their fees and we continue to match them, we will not have to make an ordinance amendment. We currently have a construction board of appeals that consists of 3 members. And that is just identifying that we will continue to have that. The construction board of appeals is 3 members with construction experience. And that board is required to meet whenever, or if ever, sorry, my throat's really dry today. If ever there were an appeal of building code decision by any of our inspectors. I think this happened, it was before my time, but with you, please, just for reference, I guess. Next section is building code. What I'm proposing here is we specifically identify the 2015 edition. I would like to state the state statute that allows us the right to adopt building code pursuant with what is currently adopted by the state of Michigan. The reason I would like to do this is in the event that in the future, because they will be updated, the building codes are revised and adopted by the state, we will not have to come back and do an ordinance amendment. We will be able to publish a notice that new books will be effective on X dates and share that with our residents that way, but not have to go through this entire process. So it'll hopefully simplify things. It also will give residents one spot. If they go to the state, they can pull all of the code books. We can even, if we want to, work with Unicode to link those books to if need be. And then there are some code appendixes that we're proposing to, we currently adopt the flood hazard area. So this language just cites the firm maps that are established by FEMA, because we're not going to designate our own flood area, and just identifies that they would have to meet the code within those flood plains. Or if within a floodplain. Mechanical, plumbing, residential, electrical, property maintenance codes. I did exactly the same thing I just explained with building. I referenced state statutes so that as those codes are adopted and updated. Specifically with the property maintenance codes, there are a couple areas that we either have to insert or amend, and those changes are identified. And that's because anybody can adopt these, so we're making sure to identify that it's specific to the village. Rehabilitation code for existing building, energy code, all the same. Dangerous buildings, which is Article 11. I also, we'll talk about the paper I handed to you guys before the council meeting will be in this section if you so choose. This is probably where we had the biggest change to this chapter. Currently, our dangerous building code says that, we will have a hearing by village council. If a structure is dangerous, that the owner will have to bring it into compliance if it's found to be dangerous within 60 days. If they fail to do so, that the Public Works Department will abate it and then bill that to the owner. And then it does identify that in emergency situations, the DPW supervisor and the village president can declare or establish a dangerous abatement of those properties. When I sent this to Dave, our attorney, for review, I did not propose amendments to this, and he responded back to me that that was not in compliance with state statute for dangerous buildings, and that we would need to do an overhaul of that. So I worked with him on this section. So under state law, we are required to hold a public hearing, which we had before, but it cannot be with village council and it cannot be with the village employee. The village can retain or pay a separate person to act as the hearing official with some requirements, but they can't be a regular employed individual. So we could hire an architect, we could hire a structural engineer. For example, we could work with a structural engineer at Atlantic Smith because they're not employed by the village, they would be contracted. We could hire somebody who has construction experience. It shouldn't be just anybody who has no knowledge of building codes or construction. And then this just identifies that entire process, how we would provide notice to the property owner, how determinations would be made and in what time frame. And then what happens if they fail to comply, which essentially says that if you fail to comply, then we have the right to abate the condition and bill that back to you guys. One of the questions that came up prior to the meeting is that we currently have a section 004 and 170 that identifies emergency abatement. So I called Dave right before the meeting and I questioned him on this. So for example, if there was an emergency situation, and let's say, I think the example that was given to me, so I'm gonna just reuse it, was there's a fire in our downtown and we can demo a portion of a building to eliminate that fire from going to the rest of the block or other buildings, then we would want an emergency situation or permission to do that. So how would we handle it? And Dave said that the village, under any circumstances, with any of our ordinances, has the ability to remediate any health, safety, welfare risk that the village has. And you don't have to have an ordinance that adopts that. That is the whole premise of local government. That's when we make decisions on what our code should or shouldn't be, that should be the main focus, is health, safety, and welfare of our residents. That being said, I told him, I said, well, what do we do? Who makes the decision? So I would ask you guys, again, if you so choose, that if you adopted this ordinance tonight, that you actually adopt it to include this amendment. And the amendment is just an emergency remediation that the village reserves the right to take emergency measures, again, to protect life, health, safety, and the welfare of the village by repairing or demolishing the portion of said building determined to be unsafe by the building inspector. And that the cost shall be on the property owner. It will be their responsibility. So I do want to clarify, we've identified the building inspector because of their knowledge of building codes and construction practices. Because it doesn't make sense that it be, and not that Brent is extremely knowledgeable, I appreciate him, so this is nothing against him, but it should be somebody that's doing that regularly, that's licensed, that has that background knowledge. Additionally, I want to make sure that you guys understand that this would truly be an emergency and we can only abate the safety portion. So if a building, I don't even know, has a safety risk. We cannot go in and demo the entire building to remediate the risk if removing one portion would it would make that structure safe. So we would have to do the minimal amount of remediation possible to eliminate the safety concern, if this were to ever happen. But with this proposed new dangerous building section, hopefully, the intent is to reduce dangerous emergency situations and put them on notice ahead of time so that they have time to abate it before it becomes a, oh my gosh, this is happening right this second. The other thing that Dave said too is in the case of a fire specifically, that the fire department has their own authorities and things that they can do, again, tied to life safety and welfare of the residents. So we wouldn't even have to adopt anything, and if it were fire related, they would be able to address that, so. There's some questions about that, I just covered a lot. Okay, yes,
So say we've got one of the buildings downtown on fire and it's essentially to spread or whatever, like who makes the decision? Is the fire department that's gonna say, we're gonna try and stop this, or is the village gonna say, we're gonna, who's the authority?
so Dave said, in the situation of a fire, your first authority is the fire department. He said they have the authority, and they're not under us, so we can't obviously supervise or direct them, but they have the authority to mediate or remediate any risk or safety concern. So if that meant taking a wall down would stop that fire from spreading, they have the authority to do so. Regardless of what our
I
ordinances
just don't
say
want to
or
be,
not.
you know what, match between a township entity and a village government saying, yes, we're gonna do this, or no, we're not gonna do this, who's ultimately gonna make that decision?
Yeah, in the case of a fire, fire has the first and primary authority to make that decision.
And then secondly, I guess I keep reading the hearing officer, you know, whatever, we don't, number one, we don't even have a job description for that, we need employees or something.
You would hire them as needed basis, so it does not have to be the same person every time. It does not have to be somebody that you keep on the books and you retain and have on standby. So in the like in the case that, let's say we adopt this ordinance and 4 months from now, we have a building that staff has identified as dangerous. We would then contract with somebody who is available, who didn't have a conflict of interest to be our hearing officer for that case specifically. And then let's say 2 years down the road, we have another building, it could be a completely different hearing officer. And that's why it's generic to hearing officer, because we would retain them at the time that they were needed. And we would negotiate or establish whatever their compensation would be then.
And then going back to like your listings, the different codes and agencies, whatever. Technically, we don't have a mechanical official, plumbing official, right? It'd be our inspector, right? Again,
Yes,
clarity is key for,
so you want me to change official to inspector?
yeah, because
Okay.
doing their job, right? I mean, that's their
Right.
job. 13, or sorry, so it talks about the different.
Yeah.
Employees of.
But what's it, okay, so mechanical official of the village, you're saying,
Yeah, we don't have any of those.
I understand, so change that verbiage,
And
and plumbing official.
Yeah.
Okay,
inspector.
plumbing inspector,
Inspector. And again, my fear is, you know, yes, we want to. There's 2 tiers, there's the emergency abatement or emergency issue, we want to have that crystal clear. And that was, again, say some facade about the collapse of the 223, right? What are we gonna do? So do we have the control to mitigate it, who makes that decision, et cetera, that's now you're wanting to fall back on the building inspector, correct?
Correct.
Right. Or a more of a maintenance issue, the long term, or something that doesn't have to be abated or fixed right away. They would go through the process of having this hearing within so many days with a hearing officer or whatever. It would be nice to have a consistent engineer, whatever, that is kind of gonna know our rules, you know, and just follow the same part from the course where we're not having, oh, you did it for this person, you didn't do it for this person. It would be nice to have an in-house engineer for a lot of this stuff, help manage out as well, so I think that's something that we should look into, but again, for consistency's sake, I would prefer. Whether it's our, Mannix interest or somebody, I don't know who, but. We go back and we have that same sort of person that.
That's who I would have as a structural engineer. And we already currently contract with Mannix Smith, so that makes the most sense to work with them, or. Again, in 10 years, we use a different engineering company, it would make sense to work with whatever engineer we are contracting with at the time. And I don't know that we need an engineer on staff, I don't know that we have enough of that stuff to. Deal with, but I think that's why we contract with the engineer on an as needed basis. And to me, that makes the most sense because it takes out that. You're not pulling somebody from the community who may have a bias, or they may know whose property that is, and. They're gonna be a little bit more. Likely to be understanding, because we are a small community where maybe a structural engineer is gonna be more. No, this is the structural concerns and this is how we can address it. And it doesn't have to change, I'm just saying it, we've identified it that way because. If you name somebody, then you're gonna have to amend the ordinance every time that somebody changes, so. Again, right now, we're with Mannix Smith, if we identify them, then the next time it changes, we'd have to go in and amend who it is at that time.
And also for clarification, we can't have. Somebody on staff, they would have to be somebody that's contracted.
Correct. The state
For the
law,
hearing officer.
right, the state law specifically says that it can't be a regular staff of the municipality. So if it was an engineer on staff, they couldn't do it anyway. Yes,
And then I guess going back to clarity, if somebody were to default or not follow the ordinance or whatever, I guess. How do we direct them, like, what are how do we roll back the penalties to the civil? Let's take it, and that, how does that reference back to people fines, what kind of, that sort of thing? Again, we need to be able to direct people, okay, you're not meeting this ordinance, violating this ordinance. This is how we follow up, or this is how you follow up and find the rules, or find the, the answer to what we're looking for, we need to do.
so under building code, it's different, it's not a civil infraction, it's actually identified, there's fines and potentially. It goes to court, depending on what the violation is, and the inspectors have the authority to issue those. But I guess I'm, depending what you're talking about specifically, like if they failure to pull a permit, building code says that the building inspector has the authority to issue a stop work order. Failure to comply with the stop work order then is a ticket that goes to circuit court. And goes before a judge, so it specifically identifies what our authority related to building
You don't need
is.
anything that spells out, you are in violation of this, and this is the penalty, much like any
Well,
other.
So our building inspector would issue them a stop work order or some form of a letter saying, this is what you're in violation of. Here is the section of the building code or whatever code I'm referencing that you're violating that needs to be brought into compliance with X amount of days. Failure to do so will result in a fine or penalty. So we treat it similarly to a civil infraction, but it is different.
But we don't need any reference in the ordinance stating such.
No, that is within building code itself.
Which is also like the state building code. That you said earlier, though.
Yeah, so the state of Michigan works with the International Code Council, and International Code Council establishes the international code books. And then each state can decide if they want to just adopt it as is or change it, and Michigan's elected to change the international code to meet the needs of Michigan and our climate. So Michigan has its own review board, so it is specifically the Michigan code books, which are derived from those international books. But yes, they have very specific guidelines, and we have digital copies of these, plus we have hard copies. And even now, these codes are referenced by ordinance, but they're not within our ordinance because one code book is this thick. in itself. So any resident, if they're doing any new construction or have questions, can call the inspectors, can call the office, can come here and view those code books and get sections that are relevant to them printed. And that practice would continue moving forward with this ordinance adoption. And there is a lot to building codes. It's
There is, in for me,
chapters upon
that background,
chapters.
and this just, it's not much clearer than the original stuff to me, it's all still very vague. Hard to, again. It's hard to follow up on, like, say, I guess, if we need everybody that does anything, any sort of construction, electrical, mechanical, etc. They really need to sit down with our staff and get the basics, or get how they are directed to the rules or books, or the, the links to follow and stuff.
I mean, the only way you can, and honestly, this is not, I don't think the solution, Mike, is to adopt the code books, but. I mean, again, you're talking about thousands and thousands of pages. I don't think that's going to help people. I mean, that's why people hire contractors, and if they're doing the work themselves, they come in and I would recommend talk to us. Like, don't just go start trying to do something with no knowledge of what's going on or what the code is. I mean, that's really our jobs and what we're here for, and our inspectors would rather help them in the front at the beginning of this process than later, but I don't know how else building codes in themselves are so complicated, I don't know how you simplify them. And if we adopted the building code in its entirety, people are gonna look at that and wanna vomit and not read a single thing because it's so overwhelming. I'm open to, if you have a different idea, I'm open to it, but I mean, this is what a lot of communities reference that state laws that as it's adopted, and again, we have those digital copies, we can link them on our website, even if people want to look at them themselves, but honestly, I'd rather them come in and talk to us instead of trying to navigate that and try to find what they're doing, because we can probably help them or get them into the right spot.
And the whole reason for this ordinance rewrite is to clarify and make things easier for people to follow. And to me, I'm just not sold that it's easier to follow.
Do you have a proposed solution to that?
No.
Okay.
It sounds like putting everything together is part of the solution. Because it's not all in one spot.
It's
I
just
agree,
listed as
so,
number
but,
of
yeah.
differences, section differences, it's all, I mean, that was just another one. And I get, you have every right to be like, hey, you should have said something, before this, but.
Yes.
I don't, do you feel it's any clearer reading through this than what you read through in your previous? For a layperson, and I don't think it's much clearer. And that's the whole point.
I guess, well, for a layperson, I would hire somebody. That's what I would do. That's why I would have a builder, and I would trust the builder would look at this and know what was going on, and if not, then they're gonna go in as Danielle stated and talk to Maddie, talk to her.
And I mean, if you guys have other,
There's a lot of DIY people do a lot of the stuff themselves, right? And again, to reference it, it's not easy. It's not easy for me, and I got a background, so. That's.
I guess I would just, if you're do it yourself, right, just go come in and say, I don't understand this, can you help? Or that I need to look for the applies to me then, what I'm doing that day. Cause I think, I don't. With the building, I mean, it's just some kind of. The hell.
The amendment simply puts everything into one section.
Right.
Versus one, 15 different chapters, and condenses it into one area. You still have to follow the building code, you still have to follow the electrical code, all those things, and those references are available.
My fear
As
though, I mean,
as they always have been.
yeah, but if you read the existing flood code, that thing's 10 pages, now we somehow managed to pull that down into a paragraph. Are we missing something, I guess, right? Yeah,
I view this as an abstract or summary. Again, the referencing the building codes, but you can't have
you can't have a what if for every single moment.
Absolutely not, right?
So I think what this is dealing with is not so much the building code itself, but people that are responding or reacting to the building code or to a violation of the building code. To if we have to have a hearing officer, this is how they are to conduct themselves. There's the services here with this one section. Notice, contents, hearing officer, filing of notice with an officer, and service. Another couple of paragraphs deal with the cost. It's I don't think we're necessarily creating a do-it-yourself in the event a do-it-yourself in the event that you fail to comply following the building codes. This is what the village has in order to have some standing to tell a villager that they can or cannot do this. And what they can and cannot do, and this is how we're going to go about it. And it's not there has to be some verbiage, which I think we have a sufficient amount here. Because I don't want to have thousands of pages stuck in our ordinances. But it's, yeah, I think I've given enough verbiage myself on that.
And the construction in a flood area is already called out within the flood chapter that we're adopting. And we're saying FEMA's maps are our flood maps, and if you're in that area, you have to meet the construction in that hazard area. So what they did previously is they listed the portion of building code right in our ordinances, but that is no longer relevant. And that's, I guess, what I was thinking long term is if we reference the building code, that as it changes over the years, then we will be able to adopt and have the most current version of that code adopted without having to come make major ordinance amendments every single time. I will say, Mike, I'm open to any other way to do this. I'm proposing what I thought was the most straightforward, simplest way to do it. And I don't necessarily think that longer is always better. And I think the goal of it is to cite our building codes as they're adopted, and then you would have to refer to those, and we are here to help with that. Again, you have experience in construction and you say it's confusing, so it's really if they have no experience, so come talk to the building inspectors and the people who work in this day in and day out and have that knowledge. Like Todd could probably off the top of his head tell you exactly what chapter and section a certain requirement is in, because he's so familiarized with that and looks at it all the time.
And that's a lot of what people don't understand. You know, we get people come to this podium all the time saying, these people are violating ordinance, but they're building, or they're violating this. So again, the reference back to say, get on the phone and say, hey, person, you are violating this ordinance. Go back and read this very vague ordinance that we have listed, and then try to go to another section.
If we're getting if they have a violation, we're gonna cite the ordinance where we adopted the building code, and then we're gonna cite the building code. We're not just gonna say you're violating this building code book. We're gonna say you're violating the 2015 residential code that has been adopted by the village and in use, and you're specifically violating section R304.11, which states blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
So we would never just say, well, you're violating the code. Well, how am I violating the
Right.
code?
Exactly.
We're gonna give you an exact copy of that code too. So I'm not just gonna say, well, the code says this, you're gonna get a copy word for word what that says. Well, they could also go look it up and make sure.
They shouldn't have to, we should find them.
If we're providing,
It's
or somebody
very
say that,
clear.
hey, you're in violation of building.
I mean, they can go double check our work if they want to,
You're
but
gonna
no, they would have
yeah,
that.
You're not gonna say you're on your own, but
I don't want the ambiguity of it. I want people to know this is the violation, this is where it specifically states it out, and this is what needs to be done. Or these are the penalties for it. That's what. the
I
point
can
is.
send you guys a draft letter of what we're already doing, but it does exactly what I told you. It cites, it says we've adopted X code. here's the section of that code that's in violation, you have 30 days to remedy this, or whatever their time frame is.
And Dave's fully that he can enforce this. And
Yes, he did fully review all of this.
again, it's, we gotta learn as we go, and we'll keep it, we need to make changes, but
They can always amend an ordinance again, but I do think that this is the best route forward that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. Building codes are gonna be confusing regardless of what we do.
probably to see some enforcement, that's for sure.
So I just, as a refresher too, if you guys choose to make a motion to adopt this tonight, I would actually like you to consider moving to approve it with the amendments of adding the section 1109 and changing official to inspector in the appropriate locations.
You know, and and then you just started, nine.
Yeah, just adding the 172.1109 section.
Where are you putting that?
It would be towards the end there in that dangerous building section. So it would follow the number scheme at the bottom. With those numbered sections, might so follow that. Be right under judicial review.
Probably. Should it be like right before 1103, because it's technically you got your data structure, all your definition. Kind of like a slower process, and then
Where you just what I said.
maybe 1103. Because everything underneath it kind of follows that.
Yeah,
Right.
you would just do 1103 and move everything down.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because everything that would happen with the emergency would happen with the.
Whatever you want. I can, no preference, whatever, that, I'm good with that. I get what you're saying. That would be like the, I gotta get here, it's an emergency, and then the
First
rest is
definition,
not.
and then everything else
Yeah.
falls under that realm, but anyway, sort of the said emergency versus non-emergency. Wait, look forward, prepared. Everybody. Understand what I'm saying there?
You're gonna change this number then from.
No, it was, oh, we'd go to 1104.
No, so you would approve the amendment to chapter 172, amending to include 172.1103 emergency remediation and move the following sections down a number, and to change official to inspector where appropriate.
Then if we're changing those numbers, will it remain section 9?
Yeah,
So it'll be 172.1103 emergency remediation.
No section.
And then the sections from 1103 now would move down a number. So the current 1103 would become 1104 and so on.
But I think, what Ken said, you know, so the section 9,
yeah. it would be a
That-
separate
that-
Oh,
section.
it'll say, I'll have to change it to match section
Understood.
3, because that section's tied to the top
Gotcha.
here, sorry. I apologize, man, I misunderstood what you were asking there.
gonna give this motion a roll.
Wonder if it's- So you're right, yes.
Move to approve the amendment to chapter 172 buildings and building regulations to consolidate all building codes, code reference into one chapter and update the village code to reflect the state of Michigan's recently adopted building codes. In addition, adopting 172.1103 emergency remediation And also changing verbiage from building official to building inspector.
Under 113, you want to say the following sections down.
And in addition, on after 1103, moving the additional sections below that down one.
And effective upon publication.
Yeah, effective upon publication.
I will support.
I got it. I had it before you did.
Right fast enough when I was.
It might not be verbatim, but it's good.
Request friendly amendment there, you got just said building inspector, but I'll leave inspector to be mechanical building.
Yes, I'm sorry, it changed that to official to inspector, not specific to building inspector.
Sorry.
And I'll still support that.
As an
All right, we've got a motion, Eric, second, Ken, to approve the updates to chapter 172 building code. I'm not gonna read all that. I have it. Lisa, you're okay with that?
Yes. We're good.
Further discussion on that. Again, let's get updates, Daniel, if we would, if there's concern, people don't follow it, people have issues, let's go back to revisit it. We
Yeah,
want to
absolutely.
be crystal clear, because a lot of them, we have made it more concise, more clear, so that's the point of going through this, so I appreciate your time. Okay, no further discussion. Please call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
Mike,
Let's just say yes. Motion carries. Number 2. We would need to repeal previous chapters. Which we just consolidated, so it'd be chapter 170, chapter 190 through 195, 197 through 205.
We can do that all together.
Yes, so I did put them all together in one motion this time because the last time we did ordinances that were related, I think it was parking. I had separated them out and you guys elected to put them together. So just as a reminder, I to simplify the agenda and make things easier for you guys, I did it together. But you can choose to do it this way or separate them out into individual motions, whatever your pleasure is.
Since we're doing them, we've already gone into that.
Yes, and I purposely put this behind 172 because if that were not to go in effect, then this motion, I would ask you not to do anything with, but yes, all of these sections are now included within chapter 172.
I'll move to approve the ordinance repealing the following chapters of the Blissfield ordinance effective upon publication. Chapter 170, dangerous structures. Chapter 190, Michigan building code. Chapter 191, building permit fee schedule. Chapter 192, plumbing code enforcing agency. Chapter 194, building permits for construction in the flood hazard area. Chapter 195, construction in flood hazard area. Chapter 197, enforcement of state electrical code. Chapter 198, amendment to VOCA National Property Maintenance Code. Chapter 199, Michigan Mechanical Code. Chapter 200, Michigan Plumbing Code. Chapter 201, Michigan Residential Code. Chapter 202, National Electric Code. Chapter 203, International Property Maintenance Code. Chapter 204, Michigan Rehabilitation Code. And Chapter 205, Michigan Energy.
Support.
Okay, I've got motion, Glenn, second, Bill, to approve the ordinance repealing the following chapters, Blissfield ordinance effective upon publication, chapter 170, 190, 191, 192, 194, 195, 197, 198, 199, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, 205. Further discussion. Is there Colorado thing on the upon publication, is it easier to say immediately in 2 weeks? Or
What do you call it? State. village charter actually only allows us to do upon publication, which has to be done within 15 days. Or you have to identify a designated date, so you can't do it less than the 15 days, or I have to have it published no later than 15 days is what I should actually say. So that's why I do publication, because with the advance running on Wednesday, I do the next available date. So I will submit all of this week, so it'll be next Wednesday, and then that's when it'll become effective.
I appreciate that, one of the news agencies had a question on it, too. So I said, well, we assume it might affect the DA or the state or whatever, so I guess there's anybody's skin.
Yeah, I just try to make it. I can start putting the dates, I guess it just, I don't know, but thought it was easier.
That's fine. And then we publish the advance, we publish here, right, we post here technically, or you're publishing just through the advance.
So we publish in the advance, it's available on our website, and then they can get
Website.
free copies here.
Okay. So, sure, great.
Yes.
Thank you for clarification. Anybody else? Now, Lisa, call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, carries. Yeah, number 3, ordinance amending chapter 5, compensation of elected officials. Did have a public hearing previously. Clarification on this is generally just to follow yearly updates, budget time, wage scales. Correctly, rather than have to change it every year as we.
Right,
Time
yes.
we change on the wage scale.
Yeah, and we did this previously, sorry, Tim, for the other positions, but we did not make changes to council trustee and then the inspectors too. Sorry, Tim.
Okay. I move to approve the ordinance amending chapter 5 compensation for elected officials as presented and effective upon publication.
Motion Tim, second Sherry to approve the ordinance amending chapter 5, compensation for elected officials as presented. Effective upon publication. Questions?
No, it just makes sense to, clean it up. I have to come back and revisit it, and revisit it, and revisit it.
But it's technically, they're appointed though, they're not elected.
Oh, what's whatever.
Yeah, they are,
Yeah.
the inspectors
It's
are.
two
appointed,
separate, okay.
yes. But it says, village officials and employees in the ordinance, so, because it references clerk, treasurer. So I'm not even really sure why we have this ordinance, but I didn't want to just completely nix it because we put it there for some reason, so.
Oh, you made a really good point. Why do we have?
I'm not really sure.
Do we have to have it?
No, you have your ordinances designating council and clerk and building official.
If this is redundant.
Part of the wage scale, regardless of the really.
Yeah, it does not, you're not required to have an ordinance to determine pay for these positions. You can reveal it, it's completely up to you guys, again, I left it because I thought there was some purpose or reason, or,
It's
I
more
didn't-
efficient than doing it every November. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I didn't know if we wanted residents to be able to go there and see, I
She
wasn't
can
really
understand
sure.
What, why we have. What?
No, well, we have a motion on the floor, we want
Yeah,
to call that one, or we want to have another motion?
or do you want to change it to repeal instead of amend?
I am not opposed to repealing. that.
Tim's the
Yeah.
first and Sherry's
Yeah,
second.
it's fine, it's.
Right.
you're amending your motion. And then you are agreeing to amend the second, Sherry?
Yes.
I heard it.
This doesn't affect the village attorney or the other positions.
Okay, so we've got a amended motion on the floor to repeal chapter 5, compensation for elected officials as presented effective upon publication. That work for you, Lisa?
Mhm.
Tim, you were okay with that? Friendly amendment, your amendment? Sherry? Okay, discussion. And you'll just add it to the wage scale that we adopt every year.
Right, it's currently in there,
There
but
you go. Okay. All right, no further release call roll.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, approve the electrical plumbing mechanical inspectors employment agreement. More so, the descriptions, et cetera, to how they're funded by or compensated by the village.
let me talk about this a little
Yeah,
bit. Okay. So we did amend I'm sorry, let me start over. We did create an agreement for our building inspector previously, and you guys did approve that. It is signed, we've been operating on that. I was trying to look up the date, I thought it was. I had it in here. Oh, April of 2024, we did that. So at that time, I had told you guys that we were hoping to get the other 2 inspectors agreements going and job descriptions. Did take me some time, I apologize, but that is what's in front of you guys. I've included the job descriptions because we did not have anything previously. And then the agreement mimics the building officials. And it matches what was currently in our ordinance and what we're currently paying them for compensation. So I'm not proposing any changes to that. It's exactly as it is today. Both of our inspectors have reviewed this information. I sent it to them. I wanted to make sure there was nothing I was missing, that they had no concerns, and both of them are good with it. In fact, Don already signed his in anticipation of you guys approving it. He was ready to go. So I am asking that you guys approve this and then authorize me to execute them with the inspectors. And we'll continue to follow them. And then if ever in the future, they or we wanted to amend how we pay them, we would just make an amendment to their employment agreement. But it makes it clear what their expectations and responsibilities are versus ours, which we did not have it all when I started, at least not written. I'm sure that the previous administrator had that institutional knowledge and knew, but this will help kind of keep it consistent period and moving forward. If ever there is a change in staffing, or if we have to hire this position as well.
Prefer motions for each to approve the job descriptions and the contract.
Completely your
I
pleasure.
think we did that before, didn't we? I mean, it would make sense to have an official job description approved.
I don't recall how you guys did it with the building inspector. I wanna say it was all in one, but it's truly council's pleasure. I can look that up if you want me to, Mike, but it's really regardless of how you did it before, it's whatever your preference is.
Only because we approved everybody else's job description as they were rewritten or revised, so again.
Yeah.
We should be. Have a motion to approve the job description as it's written.
So your suggestion for the like the inspector agreement. And job description. I wouldn't have.
They should approve the job descriptions for its, mechanical intellectual inspector is.
Motion to approve the plumbing and mechanical inspector job description and the electrical inspector job descriptions as written.
Motion Gwen, second Phil, motion Phil, second Gwen to, approve the job descriptions for the, mechanical inspector, plumbing inspector. Discussion. At least all.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bill, Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Next would be to approve, presented contract agreements for both. Inspectors, plumbing and mechanical.
Move to approve the independent contract agreements as presented for the electrical, plumbing, and mechanical inspectors. And authorize the village administrator to execute the agreements on behalf of the governing body. Support.
Motion Bill, second Tim, to approve the independent contract agreements as presented for the electrical, plumbing, mechanical inspectors. Authorize the village administrator to execute the agreements on behalf of the governing body. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Number 5 would be, proposed Writing Township Water Agreement. Number 6th Amendment. Danielle, turn it over to you.
So this amendment is being proposed based on the upcoming fee schedule that's going to be presented to you guys. But I would like to notate that in the past, we've made amendments to this contract in pieces. So if you look at the second through the 5th amendments, it just references small sections. So I've actually given you guys the agreement in its entirety. This has been sent to Riga already as well, just to help us be able to look at it more clearly as a whole document. So it looks like a lot, but the document that I sent you guys does show any of the proposed changes. Oh, it is not in your agenda. Sorry,
No, it's
I just now
not
seen
in
that.
yellow, right?
So it was in there in the attachment, so it just is referring to the fee schedule, is really what it does. So if you look at page 66 of this, it says bulk water only rate for a 3/4 inch meter. So it's just, so as, again, this, my hope is that instead of having to look at this agreement every year and amend it if fees change, we just reference that fee schedule. And then if they change, we put Riga on notice. It is part of our budget calendar to notify Riga. I have reminders in my calendar set to do this, so they will continue to get notified. We will continue to communicate and work with them. It's just hopefully this will kind of make it easier moving forward for both communities, was the intent. But if you have questions, let me know.
So no classification for a large meter.
Yeah, so it is identified under residential, commercial, that they're established within the fees. I just read one section, to you, Mike, I apologize.
Yeah.
So right below that, charges at rates established within the fee schedule based on meter size. So depending on the size of the meter, which we have that identified in our fee schedule currently, we will continue to do that, so it'll just follow that.
Get the original. Yes. Yeah, I think it gets clear. But without James being highlighted. I mean,
I can certainly send you
it's not
the,
gonna hold us up for approving our budget next First one.
You want to print them right now and I can go get them?
Well, I will tell you that I'm more than happy to do that, but I actually had to retype this entire thing. Because the original I couldn't find in a Word document and I tried to convert the PDF, but it did a bunch of like special characters and weird formatting. So I can print the track changes, but if you're wanting to compare the original to this, I actually would need to send you both versions of that. Unless hopefully you trust my track changes, but just make it easy for you guys, and really. I don't know if you want to see all the amendments in between, but. Because I kind of had to work backwards, because some of those amendments were still included, and it was very confusing altogether. But I'm good with whatever, Mike, the budget is scheduled for. Including the fee schedule scheduled for September 8th, which is our next council meeting, and we can certainly postpone this item until then, and I can send you all of those to review.
I think for clarity's sake, I guess it's not gonna hold us up. I just want council to definitely get informed on it. Kind of read through, just the changes. I think that's the right thing to do. Well, whatever you guys are okay with. What really matters is why I asked this in front of them and they go to the public chamber, so. And we still have great feedback with it, right? So.
Gary did call me and just requested some clarification on the fees regarding flushing and their bulk water. So I gave him showed him the section of the agreement and then the fee schedule. And he said that they were discussing it at their board meeting that night, but I never heard any follow-up or additional information. And I had emailed them the proposed fee schedule when we were having discussions. They got the two versions with and without CFS, and then I did follow up with them without and included this agreement, and you guys were all copied on that too. Outside of that, I've not heard anything.
So I have a goofy question. Is the motion, first of all, I agree. I think that I don't mind waiting. I think that's fine getting everything from you to the proper highlighting. Is the motion requesting two things or three, two specific items or three items? Incorporating one, so incorporating all prior amendments and updating the fee schedule. Or should that be referencing the fee schedule? And then to authorize the village president to execute it? Or are we? I'm not sure what the motion is asking. All this stuff.
Okay, so the motion. Well, really, you don't have to incorporate the prior amendments because you already approved them. I was just identifying that they were.
Consolidated, right?
Yeah, and then,
So incorporating all prior amendments into one.
yeah,
location.
and it shouldn't be probably updating, it should be referencing to the fee schedule.
Okay.
Because you guys are not making a motion on the fee schedule, you're just
Yeah.
approving the agreement reference
Okay.
our fee
That,
schedule.
and that, okay.
Yeah, not so much amended, more so consolidated, right? That's 6 separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually 7 or whatever.
Because there was no fee schedule in the.
Yep.
In the amended form that sheet that you gave to us. Correct.
Correct, yeah, and you're right, you really could. If you postpone out, I made notes, I can amend that draft motion for next time. So if you guys choose to postpone, which I think generally I'm hearing, so I would just ask that you make a motion to postpone until the next meeting. When staff can give you all of the information and review. I'll get it before then, but.
I'll make a motion to postpone the right of water agreement, 6th Amendment, until September 8th. Yeah,
Yes.
I support that. Motion one second bill to spend until the next meeting, September 8th. The amendment regarding the right of water. Agreement. And this is going to be the entire agreement. All right, any other questions? No, it doesn't, it's literally just, it's consolidated. Agreement.
It's that first.
Right, exactly, it's the entire, it's the agreement. Yeah.
So maybe we just call it the right of water agreement. That's the word 6 letters.
All right, everybody.
So that means it-
Yeah.
that's just a problem.
Clear on that, Lisa?
Yep.
All right, any other discussion? I'm going to call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Number 6. Administrator's evaluation. Go back to, formally approved, which we did, go through and approve for Danielle's evaluation, but we didn't want to go back and consolidate, have some generalized goals that we wanted to have measurable, be measurable over the next 10 months.
Evaluation, but we discussed.
Correct, yes. So,
Here we go.
yes, this will give us guidance, give Danielle guidance, give us, like I said, some measurable goals that we want her to accomplish over the next 10, 11 months. Danielle, are you still okay with discussing this in public?
Yes, I am.
So we did consolidate these for the most part at committee meeting. When they go back and keep talking about all those different things.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, Danielle gathered it, just sent it to me and I copied it.
So generally go back down to the bottom there under comment suggestions for final.
You see numbers, Danielle put them into the smart, goal reference. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Danielle, you're crystal clear at with those goals, right? I mean, obviously you set with us and kind of formalize those as well. So 4 goals that we wanted, we'll go back. Try to judge around next over the next year. So
Yeah, you mean the day.
evaluate, sorry.
Yes, they are clear. I'm good with them. I do want to just say thank you guys for taking the time to talk about that in the committee meeting. I know that this was new this year with this process and, that it made it a little bit longer process, but this gives me some guidance and direction into the next year that's consistent from all of you guys. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I think it also helps us, it is twofold. It helps us as well to have those focus, you know, what we expect and have that focus.
Hopefully it's something we can carry on with our, your staff as well, and then implement those same kind of ideas. I think, like we said, the comments, I think, help you out more than the numbers. A grading scale.
Yeah, I agree. It gives me some insight as to maybe why you scored me in such a way and it gives me some guidance or areas that I can focus on or keep the same or whatever I need to do.
And Ken, thank you for bringing the smart goal format for all of them. Because I love how it's, the measurable part of it, and I like the time bound, the relevance, the whole, everything there is just makes it smart, complete goal. It's smart, very good, very good. Well, I would move to approve the village administrator's annual performance evaluation as presented and authorize the village president to execute the evaluation. I'll support.
Motion Glenn, second Sherry, to approve the village administrator's annual performance evaluation as presented, authorize the village president evaluation. Discussion.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill, Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, carries. Through that part. Moving on, reports. We have water treatment, wastewater treatment plant and Parks and Rec. Attached, any questions regarding the reports? Alright, well, that's what I'm still frustrated with Eagles. I'm cooperatives, I guess, working with us on these water lines provided that. We've done everything that they've asked, said 2 years, said 3 years, I mean, they're the ones that approved the initial design, so why we don't have the same inspector, no one, I don't understand. You know, across. What they're considered pretty much our regular water customers is. In terms of bulk customer, it's the same thing, same resident, same line, same. Same meters. Secondly, why we can't open that other line, I don't understand. What their hold up is on that. But. I think there's a lot more we could do, but continue to ask them.
And we are going to continue discussions and our engineer is working on it, so Nora. So we'll keep you updated if anything changes.
Okay, anybody have questions for reports?
And I have one, for the wastewater treatment plant. Number 3, continuing to work on cleaning and sealing the ditches and not had any luck as of yet. What's that? Is it need completion on the job?
So we bid out the sludge removal in the ditches and to have them seal. And I'm not sure if you recall, I'm trying to remember when it was, I brought it to you guys and asked for a bid rejection. The bid came in at 1.3 million. And we are struggling.
My question has to do with it, like I was perceiving that he was working on the physically doing the work, but he wasn't sure if it was working out.
No,
That's, okay.
we're
Yes,
struggling to find a location to dispose
Gotcha.
of the sludge, which is causing some cost complications. Because there is a facility that'll take it, but it's costly. So we are working with the engineers and we do have a contractor that is interested in working with us. Within our budget and helping us to get rid of it, but the disposal has proven challenging, so.
Do other communities have the same issue with disposing of that?
I would imagine, I'm not sure. I think they probably treat a little bit differently and our hope was we have that grit removal system that we would be able to get the sludge removed this time and not have to continuously deal with this challenge. Unfortunately, this is all pre-grid system. And we also don't know how much is in there, which proves some challenges. It's just, I guess, turned into a little bit more than.
The work can't get done until those dishes are cleaned out, right, the sludge is out, technically is what I'm saying. They can't seal it.
Right, yeah, we can't seal them properly without getting them cleaned out.
Detroit throw a bunch of theirs up about how I live, I always just go through years. So plus, it's a good place. So, yeah, that's a lot of money, unfortunately, but it goes back to cleaning, or, the sludge hauling into the water plant and the sludge wastewater plant, so. Something that's always ugly, it's unreal.
But we will continue to keep you guys posted. I know Aaron sent an email today about the project, so we are actively working on it. It's proving to be challenging. It's got us.
Yeah, I forgot the context of the cleaning and sealing. So I got that with you.
Yes.
You have the balance. There.
I don't know exactly. We anticipated not more than 60% of the ditches are full, but I don't know. It could be minimal, like, I'm not sure. The last time we had sludge removed and hauled was 12, right, Lisa? You pulled that paperwork for me.
no,
No.
We had it right,
20.
right after I started in 20, or when I was starting.
I think it was 12 and then 20.
Mhm.
I think I do that every time. But, both times were considerably different amounts, and the second time, and I don't know if this was true, I wasn't here, but I was told that we ran out of money, so they didn't remove all of the sludge at that time, so some was left over.
And this whole rebuild was supposed to make the plant more efficient, so that.
Well, the grid system wasn't running and operational until 23. So we have that time from 21, when we are pulling grid, I mean, a pretty good amount, but from 21 to 23, plus whatever was not hauled in the 21 project.
How deep are those ditches?
I have the dimensions, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Have you ever had a chance to go up there and check it out?
I have, but I can't see the bottom.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I just wonder how deep they were.
Hold the dimensions on those when we did the project, so I can send that to you.
I do appreciate though, Steve. Filling us in on this, and I like that he's talking about the mixer going on here, about Don going to class, about him renewing his license. Appreciate that information.
Anyone else? Reports? All right, move on to any discussion, council wise. Sherry? Hmm? Bring up, Tim, Eric, been long enough. One,
I'm gonna go back to reports for just a second. If you guys go back to page 91 of 94 on your agenda. It's under Parks Rec, correct? I just want to bring to your attention what the full passes are looking like. And compared to, what we have had in the past, just want to let you know. Membership, they were taking some of them, who's coming from where, want to let you be aware of that. And as of this year to date, state passes sold 2,432. So, just, doesn't answer certain everything, but just want to bring that to your attention. And then, I know that our agenda looks quite lengthy in here. But that's pretty much everything you guys that we do this stuff. So it's pretty thorough. So just wanted to bring that to you. That's all. Thank you.
Bill, Ben, anything? Discussion? All right, second round, public comment, anything from the public? All right, if not, next meeting is September 8th, will be budget approval or budget approval. Lots to talk about, if there's nothing else, I'll take the motion to adjourn.
I do.
Oh,
Hang on one second. In September, we're going to hold, is that going to be the one regarding the brush pile? Yeah. We do the ones in September, do we discuss that?
I'm sorry, when I'm completely drawing the blank on the brush piles.
Brush piles,
What we talked about when we were talking about the last.
yes,
And what we were gonna do.
the amount of brush, the amount of brush that people are putting on the side of the roads. That's what we're talking about. Did we say that we? I can't remember.
We talked about
talk
it
about
recently.
recycling, kind of like.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of briefly, like it came up in conversation, but I guess I missed where there was maybe some action on my part, so I apologize.
So there's no action in your part, I'm thinking off. I think we just talked about this, kind of talked about it, but if we take a look at September/October, I don't know what we have around the committee of the wholes for discussing of the amount of yard waste that's being produced. Use people putting out their trees for the village to take care of. I just want to have that for discussion with like trees and that just.
This big one.
Well, we did amend our ordinance and have specific size requirements and length requirements. And then we also excluded commercial haulers.
Does it state that
And-
ordinance?
It does, we just recently amended that, so I just sent that to Muni Code. I have to look at the dates, so they have it as a pending amendment right now, and they're working on getting it updated. So that was, I can send you the dates, but it is effective now, so I would like to wait to look at this until after we work through the new ordinance without the commercial haulers. I have told Brent specifically to share with the guys too, that if it's not in compliance to, don't pick it up, and we will follow up with them to let them know why it's not, and so that they bring it in, because I think that DPW will be nice and they'll just pick it up, but then they don't really realize that because it got picked up, that it wasn't in compliance with the ordinance, so they're not really having the opportunity to learn and correct it moving forward.
How would they know? How would we could get know whether or not a licensed tree service did the work or not?
Well, that is going to be, it's a little bit tricky, but a lot of times we will see them go because they're constantly out and about in the community working on things. They'll see them because it's typically not a little stump or a bush, it's.
And most residents don't take down their own big trees either.
Yeah, so that's how they know, I mean, that being said, I'm not gonna guarantee that somebody won't sneak under the radar, but if we see them, we will not be picking it up, they'll have to work with their contractor. We do have some residents that will call us ahead of time and say, hey, what are the rules? And we share with them, if you're hiring somebody, they are responsible for removal. But
I apologize, and then maybe that's.
There was discussion about like bulk, you know, and we do like large item tag, like a bulk, something. Like a large. The mattress, something that would be different than what would normally be. Your general needs.
we did talk about brush, I just think it was more of like a kind of, hey, keep this on your radar, was how I took it at least, but.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But I apologize.
So I did go in and talk to Danielle about a twice a year, once or twice a year, about, when we lived in Hanover. And I can't remember, I believe we did it in the fall and we did it in the spring. And it was the Hanover Township, where the township would bring in garbage trucks, and they would have a trash day. To where like mattresses and stuff like that, that people, yeah. And I brought it to Danielle. And I believe we did it in the spring, and you had to show proof that you lived in the township. And there were specific things you could bring, but it was just, you know, how. Like instead of people having to get dumpsters like us every 5 years, where you can declutter some, and I think they actually accepted. Tires, paint cans and stuff like that, things that is hard for you to get rid of, you can't just throw it in your regular trash, but you can also use it. So I did come in and talk to Danielle real quick about something like that, that we can maybe honor our residents with.
Why don't you guys beat me down on the budget?
Well,
At that collection day at the fairground, bringing
Electronics and fire.
They came and stuff.
but I think that's just once a year. isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe because we didn't know.
So I was going to talk to Stevens about costs on that when I call them to suspend the service at the pool. So it is on my list of things to look at, and I'll let you guys know on that. I did not have anything scheduled for the September committee of the whole at this time. I was purposely leaving it open because during the budget work sessions, you guys had directed me to set up meetings with, Boy Scouts, Blissfield area Little League, and the Historical Society. I just last week in my weekly summary sent information on that. And I think probably the Boy Scouts and the Historical Society, no action is needed at this time, but potentially we could reach out to the Blissfield area Little League. So I hadn't heard back from you guys on that. I know a guy too, so. That I was kind of waiting to hear from that because I wanted to leave maybe a couple options for, because maybe September doesn't work for them, but give them like, hey, here's our next committee, of the whole, when could you come see us?
Did you have discussion with Dave on those leases? I mean, some are old.
Well, the only dirt old one is the Boy Scout that was 99 years long.
There's no.
The Historical
But
Society
there's
one
really
was,
no discussion of funding in that one. It's literally just the ability itself. Like, village owns it or reverts back to the owners if we don't have the power. Right, so again,
Yeah, I
if you
know.
need it over, can it be? I guess what are our options?
yeah, I have not had him, I shared it with you guys first to kind of see. Share ideas or thoughts or information. I can send that one to Dave. The Historical Society was just redone at 12 and
That is an automatic.
correct, so I missed the renewal, I'm gonna say we all missed their renewal. Because I was not aware of the agreement in 22, so it automatically renewed for 10 years.
And that's where I had asked, like, of what you're doing so that it doesn't happen again. And you very clearly stated that you will have something there that if you were to exit, that information is there, because you never received it. How can you renew it when you didn't even know it was there to be? That's bad. Not in your bad, that's previous. That's right. And that's the third. Yes, regarding leases.
I'll send those to Dave though, and then just let me know if you guys would like me to proceed with talking to a guy about Blissfield.
The, you want me to get a hold of Hanover Township, I can find out how they do it, because I know that they still do it.
Okay, I can call them too, I just, unless you want to, I won't turn help down either. I'm gonna delegate to you to call.
I will do that,
There you go.
I will do that, because I was only a participation person, but I know that it was.
Any further? All right, no motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 7:42 PM. I'll support.
7:42 by Bill, second by Eric. Lisa, call roll.
Quinn,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes, motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank God, the Superman is gonna turn into a house.